All right, so this is your solution prep lab part 1. Okay, you want to first gather your materials. So you'll need the solution prep kit itself, which has both parts 1 and part 2 in it. You want your balance, your Sharpie, both of these should be in your original lab kit, your safety glasses on your eyes, which should also be in your original lab kit, and then a cup or something of water, and your notebook, which should have all of your calculations and your flow chart about how to do the lab. Okay? So the first thing you want to do is, following that flow chart, you want to label your tubes, okay? So you're going to take your Sharpie and you're going to find your 5 tubes and you're going to label them, okay? The same things go on each tube. You're going to put the concentration, and you can, I would probably suggest using the grams per milliliter concentration that's in your notebook. So that's like the second column in your table, okay? And then the compound and initials, date, and period. Okay, so you're going to start, put initials. So mine are LRB, but you should put whatever yours are. Today's date, right? So I'm doing this a little before you, so check the date. And your class period, right? Whatever that happens to be. And then this first tube is going to be our 0 milligram per milliliter. This is our control, right? Just water. And then the compound. Okay, so initials, date, period, number, concentration units, and compound. You need all of those things on your label for it to be correct. Okay, so you're going to label all the rest of your tubes, and then we can move on. All right, and then you want to take a photograph of all 5 of your labels. So I put them in order to make it easier, right? Arrange them all, including your 0, which is your control, right? And take a photo like this so that I can read all parts of all the labels. I am grading this, so please make sure that they're all showing right so none of them get cut off. If you need to do separate pictures and stitch them together somehow, that's fine. I just need to be able to see all the labels fully and clearly. And then you're going to weigh out the right amount of dextrose for each of these tubes, okay? So you'll need your weigh boat and your balance. Okay, the first tube, the 0 tube, right? So this is, there we go, 0 grams per milliliter of dextrose. This has no dextrose in it, right? This is our control. So you can just go ahead and fill this up to the 10 milliliter line with your water. Please be careful not to go over or under the line, so keep it at eye level so you can really see. If you need, you can use your pipette. It should be in here. So you have these, what are called transfer pipettes. This can help you take a little bit extra if you need just a couple more drops of water to get it right to the right volume, okay? Okay, so you want it to be exactly at the 10 milliliter line that's shown on the tube when you hold it vertical, okay? So that tube is done. Cap it securely, set it aside. Then you're gonna start weighing things out for the rest of the tubes, okay? So you open your balance. And you're measuring extremely small amounts here, okay? You wanna find your tube of dextrose, okay? Right, so consulting your table. So if you find your next tube, right, you can consult your table in your notebook and it will tell you how many grams of dextrose to weigh out on your balance. Check that your balance is in units of grams before you begin. All right, I went a little bit over. You can kind of fold this a little to tap some back in there. All right, so you're gonna weigh out the right amount for your 0.005 gram per milliliter tube, right? You're gonna uncap it. You're gonna very, very carefully, without spilling anything, kind of fold this into a taco shape. Be gentle so you don't spill. If you spill, you gotta restart. You're gonna add all that powder into the tube, okay? Then you're gonna fill up to the 10 milliliter line, okay? So you can probably start by pouring. Okay. If you've got a good pour spout. If you don't have a good pour spout, you can just use the pipette for the whole thing. When you get close to the end, switch over to the pipette. You need to get as precisely as possible. You cannot go over, or it's all wrong, you gotta restart, and you cannot go under, okay? So add those drops. Okay, you're gonna put the cap on, okay? You're gonna shake to mix. Want to make sure it all dissolves. Great. Then you can set that aside. All right, next up. Okay. If your balance turns off, turn it back on. Okay, so now we're going to do the 0.01 grams per milliliter. Okay, so you check in your notebook and you see how much you should weigh out for that one. Okay, you're using your dextrose here. Re-zero the balance if you need to, so click tare and it should go back to 0. Make sure the weigh boat's on there. Okay, so you're going to add that, double check you're putting it in the right tube. Again, you kind of do the taco. Try to make sure it all gets in the tube and none spills. If any spills, you got to restart. I'm going to fill up to the 10 ml line. Okay. If you get it right on, great. If you go over, that's a problem. So you can use the pipette if you need. Okay, you're going to mix it until it all dissolves. You want to use these same steps to prepare your other 2 tubes, following the directions in your notebook. You want to make sure that all of your tubes are fully dissolved before you do the diastix test. Okay, so you can see that this one's still a little gritty. Shake it up a little more before you do the test. All right, this next part is honestly one of the trickiest parts of the lab, but I'd like you to hold your tubes upright so that you can show me that they are all at the right volume and then take a photograph. Okay, so here's my example. You can see that it's a little bit rough. But you need to make sure that I can kind of see, so you want to angle the tubes so you're not full on the label, so that I can see that kind of 10 ml line for each of them, so I can see that they're all right about at the right volume. Okay, if you come up with a better holder situation or whatever, that's great, but I just need to see that they're all at the right volume before you do your testing. Now we get to see how accurate your measurements and your calculations were by testing your dextrose concentrations with the diastix that are in your kit. All right, once your tubes are fully dissolved, you want to gather them and your diastix, which are these little strips of paper with the colored ends. They may be in a Ziploc or they may be in an envelope. You should have 6. I gave you 1 extra. Please be careful to keep these dry until you're using them. So make sure you have wiped off your lab surface and you're only putting them down on dry spots. Okay? So leave the extra one in the bag so it doesn't get wet in case you need it later. You're going to take each of these strips and you're going to label them with your Sharpie right on the white part with the different tube concentrations, right? So you want 1 for the 0, right? 1 for the 0.005, 1 for the 0.101, 1 for the 0.015, 1 for the 0.02. Okay, then you want to make sure you use the right strip with the right tube, right? So find the 0 tube, right, and find the 0 strip. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to dip it in here. I'm going to kind of blot it off there, and you're going to lay it out, okay? And you want to do this all fairly efficiently. You don't want to let any of these strips sit for too long before you take your photo that you're going to take. You find your next tube, your 0.005 tube. Find the right strip that's labeled that. And you're going to just dip it in. Okay, lay that next to it. Look, you can already kind of see that the color is a little bit different between those two, which is what you're looking for. The next one is the 0.010 tube. Take that strip. Okay, you're going to dip it in. Lay it out next. Next is the 0.0150 tube. You dip the right strip in. Lay it out next. And then the last one. The 0.002, double check, right? 0.02 and 0.02. You dip, you lay it out next. Okay, you want to let these develop like 30 seconds. So once you've gotten them all, I'm going to count 30 seconds, let them develop. And then you're going to take a photograph of these strips. All right, and you're going to compare these strips, the colored parts at the end, to your bottle label that I have in the photograph in the lab. But you're basically comparing these colors to that key, and the key tells you what the concentration of, what the color means in terms of concentration, right? So if it remains a light blue, that means there is no dextrose in the solution, right? So you can see that worked out well for my 0, right? So I did this correctly, right? This is still blue, that means there's no dextrose, which is correct. And you want to fill that into your data table. So if you're looking at the 0 row, that first row, you would fill in the diastix key concentration is also 0, because that's the number that's below that light blue square. And then you'll take a look at your next strip, which for you guys will be the 0.005, and you compare it to the key down below. Okay, you want to see sort of which color it matches. That is the value that the diastix says your concentration is. So for mine, you can see it's quite far off. My 0.005 strip is very dark brown, so it's past the 2000. So the diastix is saying that it's over 2000 milligram per deciliter, which is way more than what it should be. But that's the data I got, so that's what I have to write into my data table. Then you'll do the same for the rest of the strips. So you'll compare your strip color to the diastix key and record whatever number the diastix key says. And remember, that's in milligram per deciliter, so you're comparing to the first column in your data table, not the second. And that's basically that. You can compare that first column of expected concentration to your final column, the diastix key concentration, to see how accurate you were with your measurements. All right, so what you want to do now, you want to take all of these tubes and wash them. You need them for part 2, and right now they're quite sticky, right? Dextrose is a type of sugar. So you're going to dump them out and either wash them with soap and water in the sink or run them through the top shelf of the dishwasher, okay? You should also rinse and dry your weigh boat, okay? Clean everything up, put all these pieces back in the baggie when they are dry so you can use them for the next lap.